Oh my gosh. Good morning. It's my birthday. Woohoo! Um, I didn't sleep very good. My nose is really stuffy, so I think I just snored myself to death all night. Face is puffy and all that. Anyway, so dreams. I remember like being on the side of a mountain, being in my truck, and there was lava coming, and luckily, as lava does, it was traveling super slowly, but I had to drive across a whole bunch of lava to get away, and it was like, oh, I only have about 3 seconds to make it up this stream of lava before my car melts, and I gotta jump out and leap to safety and run up the hill. And luckily, I was able to be in control of my car. I don't know, the tires started melting, and I got out and I leapt to safety. And I hiked over this mountain, and then I hiked down the mountain, and there was this like little lake with very green water, and it was some kind of swimming hole. It was really cool. And after swimming a little bit and then traveling across the lake, the dream seemed changed, and I was in this water world where there was no land. It was just like, imagine a scene where the entire world is just the Amazon River, and that's it. And all people ate were fish and snakes and monkeys and fruit, and that was it. People had built like platforms and docks, and that was the only like land that there was. It was really interesting. Boating around everywhere to travel, and then in this strange Amazon water world, I had two gal pals. I didn't really know them. I mean, I don't recognize them from waking life, but they're my friends, and we were trying to find that lake again, even though this was a world that didn't really have any solid ground. But we traveled around, and we eventually did find a highway, which was on solid ground. So we're like, oh, we must have finally traveled out of this world. Brain logic. And we came to this, it was like a junkyard of oddities, of antiques and oddities. And it was really creepy. Oh, that's right. So my friend and I were both in really sexy burlesque outfits, and we were going to go networking and see if we could find a venue to go perform at. And this place was at what used to be a community grange, but it had been turned into, must have been like sold and purchased by this woman who had just collected so many strange things from around the world that it was a complete junkyard with old weathered stuff, and there was so much to look at. And in the middle of this property, in front of the Grange building, there was this, it was a floor level stage, or a ground level stage rather. And I noticed I got a view from an aerial view from above, and above or beyond the tree line, there was a parking lot. There was a whole bunch of old buses that looked like they were from, I don't know, the 60s or 70s. And then I looked back over at the stage area, and there was, I don't know, several bus loads full of high school children. And there was, so my friends and I talked to the old lady that owned everything, and she was this very witchy looking woman with gray blonde hair. And she had her hair was in two twisted braids, and then a whole bunch of other twisted braids here and there. And she had layers and layers of strange jewelry on, and weird drapey clothes. And we talked to her about performing, and there was just something off about her. It was really odd. Looking back now, I think she was an inorganic being. She was out to suck the life force and energy from dreamers. So we asked her if we could have a regular spot performing, and she didn't give us a yes or no answer. Like, she implied a yes but never gave us a straight answer, which was also a very telltale sign that she was an inorganic being. So we sat down to watch a show that had started, and this kind of slowed down, creepy version of a Beats Antique song started to play. And my friends and I sat down in the corner to watch it, and we were sitting amongst the junk, and we were several yards away from the crowd and any of that happenings. And there was a big performance. There was probably 15 or 20 performers on stage in these really beautiful white costumes, and I really admired their costumes and their white face and body paint. It was very tribal fusion, but they were dancing, and they were on every single beat, but they weren't belly dancing. They weren't doing hip hop or ballet. They were just like kind of spastically moving to each beat and then like acting out each sound. It was interesting. And then one of them hopped off the stage and started interacting with the crowd and like dancing in front of them, like right close to their face, and then turning and dancing with another dance partner, like right close to their dance partner's face, and then turning back to the crowd. And then it was kind of odd because we were quite far away from the crowd, sitting on like near the side of the stage. One jumped out and looked at us and started getting closer and closer to us and dancing and being weird. And they're kind of fucking creepy. And when they're just about, I don't know, probably 6 feet in front of us, this big Siamese cat that looked a lot like my brother's cat from back when I was probably like 5, and he jumped in front of them to like block them from getting to us, and just he opened his mouth, and he had big giant teeth, and he hissed like the most scathing, hateful hiss that I've ever heard. and it was flinking his tail, his ears were back, and he kind of had his paw up and ready to biff at the dancer. And then the dancer started like dancing around the cat and like getting in the cat's face and pulling back and getting in the cat's face and pulling back. And the cat just kept hissing at it and would kind of like swat at it, but you could tell it was like trying to intimidate it because the cat didn't want to touch it. And then the dancer started hissing back at the cat, and then the cat got more ferocious with its hisses and growled, and eventually like got the dancer to go away. So I don't know, I feel like the dancer or the cat was protecting me from the dancer. So then we leave that stage area, the show's over, all the high school kids get up and they leave through the tree line and they get on their buses and go back. And I thought that was kind of strange. I was like, wow, this doesn't really seem like a place for children, but okay, I'll bet this is a really happening place on the weekends, because it had like a speakeasy kind of vibe to it. And the witch lady was like, all right, I want to talk to you alone. And there was this strange like construction equipment type of thing, and it was like a crane, So it had the cab, the crane part, and then instead of a bucket, there was another cab that was it was like a semi truck cab ish. I don't know. So we got into that, and then like some kind of strange circus ride. It started going up and down, and then it kind of would go faster and then go back to being slow, and then it go faster and then go the other way and the other way and then slow again. And it was very uneasy and jolty, and it made me very nervous because it was rickety as heck and it was rusty. And I thought any moment this thing's gonna fall apart and we're gonna fall to our death. So she's asking me about performing and just talking to me and trying to get information out of me, all the while giving me this really intense, creepy look. And then she goes, "Okay, I'm done talking." And she disappears from the cab, leaving me still rotating. And I'm like stuck, and I almost panic, but I'm like, I think I get a little tiny bit of lucidity, and I think, oh, I don't have to panic. I'm in control here. I can do this. So I start grabbing levers, and I find one that goes psh and releases the, I guess, hydraulic pressure of the crane, and it gently starts being lowered to the ground, and then it just kind of like falls apart, and the cab falls over, but at least I didn't crash to my death. And with some struggle, I find my way, like I kick the door open and I get out, and the witch is talking to my other friends, and so I'm like, so do we have a job? And she asks some other questions and makes a comment about how I might be pregnant and something about that, and she was really fucking weird about it. So it was really creepy, like creepy and weird as in a witch from a story book would be. And so it goes back and forth like that for a while, and things like that happen, and eventually my friends disappear and it's just me in this dream, and I realize I gotta get the heck out of there. So I think I gotta get out of here because I realize more and more that this place that I'm at is like some circus from hell. It's in some other dimension, and souls get trapped there and have to work for this circus witch for eternity, and they can't escape. And it's terrible. It's so scary, and the dream just gets scarier and scarier. And all the people that are trapped there are just so fallen apart and so broken because their spirit or their something has been trapped there for who knows how many decades, and or how many years, or I don't know, maybe centuries. And so I'm trying to escape, and eventually I am all of a sudden I get the dream theme changes, and I'm on at the same place in this junkyard of weird antiques and oddities. There's this long banquet table with a perfectly white tablecloth, and there's a whole bunch of people that I know from various places, and I'm trying to take a picture of them, and they're trying to pose, but the picture doesn't turn out because I pose people and then they move right when I take the picture, and I keep having to rearrange them, saying, you need to lean forward, you need to lean back, you need to sit up straight, kind of thing. And then since it almost seems like they're just not cooperating, and so I'm like, fine, just forget about it. And I'm a little bit frustrated with them. I go, forget about it. I'm trying really hard to work with all of you, and none of you are putting in the effort back. So I'm removing myself, and I'm not doing this anymore. I set my phone down, as I'm just like, bah. And then I walk away. And I almost got frustrated, but it's almost like these were all inorganic beings disguised as my friends, trying to frustrate me and make me angry so they could feed off of that energy. And I was lucid enough to just not be angry about it, just be like, meh, fuck it, fuck you. I'm not gonna engage. And so I practiced peaceful non-engagement, and I walked away. And then, so they all went away, and I was thinking, I was like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta find my friends. And so I actually did find my friends, and I tell the witch, I'm like, hey, it's time to go. And I kind of look at my friends like, hey, play along, because I think something is going very wrong, and we need to get the fuck out of here for our safety. And I make up this little story like, hey, we gotta find the swimming hole that we just stopped by here on the way trying to find this lake. So we actually need to go right now because we have several things to do today. And I was kind of looking at my friend like, corroborate with me. And she did. And she started saying, oh yeah, and this. And then there's a thing in improv where it's basically the and then. So you never, in this type of improv, you never say, no, that didn't happen. You always have to say yes and then. So that's kind of what we were doing to save our asses to get out of this circus antique junkyard from hell. And so the dream scene changes again, and they're gone again. It's just me in this dream. So I guess we didn't successfully escape, and then I'm getting more and more panicked, even though I'm trying to stay calm. And then, so okay, I start trying to fly away, but the witch will grab onto me, and she's trying to touch me in inappropriate places while I'm trying to fly away in order to piss me off and distract me and make me feel uncomfortable. And it was working. It was working at first, but then I caught on to that as my lucidity was growing. And so I tried to control the dream, and I tried to make her stop, but I couldn't seem to get that to work. So I just started telling her to do it more. I'm like, yeah, do that. Do it. And then she was like, fuck. Because I was very consciously making it not bother me, fighting away my fear through my lucidity. And then I break away from her. And so I have these, in real waking life, I have these fantastic pink cowgirl boots that I fucking love so much. And I realized that I don't have them on anymore, and I've been wearing them throughout the dream, and people keep complimenting them in the dream and talking about them. And for some reason it occurs to me, this very strong feeling, this notion that I can't leave without my boots, and I can't leave until I have my boots, because it's like putting the boots on is what will make me escape, and them keeping my shoes is somehow allowing them to keep my soul or keep me trapped there. I wonder if there's some kind of folklore about that, about keeping someone's shoes and that being somehow anchoring them to some underworld. I don't know. If you know of any stories like that, let me know. I love folktales. Anyway, so I'm like, hey, where are my shoes? Where are my shoes? And someone says, oh, so-and-so stole them. I think it was even the witch that was like, oh yeah, so-and-so stole them. Good luck getting them from her. Implying yeah, she'll kill you before you get them from her. And in fact, it's probably just a trap to lure you to her so she can kill you while you try to get your boots back from her. So I have an idea. And I think, I know what to do. And then all of a sudden, out of the air, materialize this beautiful iridescent, flat back, clear jewel. And it's just sparkling and shining I don't know, like a unicorn. And I go, aha. And then I put out my hand, and it drops into my hand. And I look at it, and I clutch it, and I put it in my pocket. And I go, I know what else I need now, too. and I look at the witch, and I'm growing in lucidity. Because once that jewel appeared, and then I thought, okay, give me this jewel. I am more lucid now. And it plopped in my hand, and I put it in my pocket, and I grew more lucid. And I thought, okay, I am going to get something from that witch to give this girl to help set her free, because this girl was also like, she had witchy, some kind of powers, and she could do spells and magic and was very, very strong in that sense. So I tried to catch the witch. I was just being chased by the witch, but now it turned and I was chasing the witch. And I was like, get back here. And, we're crashing through everything and knocking shit over and going over tables and under tables. And then at one point, there's some other little, like, creepy minion thing that's most of the time it's just like this weird black figure. But it starts to help me. It's not a good guy, and I had to be very careful not to touch it and not to mess up so it wouldn't get me. But I like, it hated the witches. I think it just hated everything, and it really, it was chaos embodied. It just loved chaos and mayhem. So even though it was the witch's minion, since I had taken control of the chaos and the intention for harm, it was attracted to that, and so it was helping me. And so we were chasing it, and it gave me the idea, and it said, take that cast iron hook over there, and like a shepherd hooks a lamb, hook her around the neck. And it also gave me the notion to, I was going to cut off one of her small braids, but it says, no, you must cut off the one on this side. And so it's like, okay, that's rather specific. So we chase and chase and chase, and he's able to jump in front of her. So she's skidded to a halt just with enough time for me to hook this cast iron, twisted, weird version of a shepherd's staff that's black and very ominous feeling. So I hook her, and I get her close to me, and I take a knife out of my pocket, this like very strange ritualistic looking dagger, and I grab one and I cut off one of her twisted braids. And I grab a rubber band from another one of her braids, and I close the open end of her braid, and I put it in my pocket. And then I see another one of her assistants, which is this like human man, this like maestro conductor kind of person, who I think he was the announcer between the acts of the circus thing. And he's looking at us, and he's definitely going to interfere if he can, but he's not making the greatest effort. He's being quite slow about it, but he definitely is going to get me. So I run, and I'm just like, I got my eye on you, and you can just fuck off, because I'm very lucid, and I know you could get me, but I'm using my lucid dream brain powers to keep you away. So I run behind the Grange building, and to where there's like weird little huts made out of piles of weird garbage and stuff. There's a part in the labyrinth where it's like a junkyard scene, and you can go into the piles of junk, and it's like some other world, or it's a house housing some of the circus performers. It was like that. And I find the girl. I'm like, hey, where's so and so? Hey, where's so and so? And people are pointing me towards her area of living. And I find it. I find her hut that's made out of a collection of weird oddities all piled up. And she comes out, and she's like giving me the vibe like, oh, you're looking for me. You found me. And that wasn't a very good idea. And I said, hey, calm down. I'm not here to fight you or hurt you, and you don't want to hurt me, because I I have a gift for you. And I have a weapon, but I set it down to kind of show her I have no intention of fighting you. I want to help you, and I want you to help me. And so she's kind of suspicious, and she has a dagger that's made out of mirrors. It's a mosaic of mirrors. Even the blade was a mosaic of mirrors, and there was elephants on the handle. I was fascinated by this blade she has, and I even told her so before she set it down. I was like, wow, that thing is incredible. Can I hold it? And she goes, yeah, sure, I guess. And she hands it to me, and she puts it in my hand, and my hand goes, it was so heavy. And it was only like this big, so I marveled at the heaviness of it. I'm like, wow, this thing has got some weight to it. And she's like, uh-huh, you have no idea. I don't know what she meant by that, but so then I give it back to her, and I notice she's wearing my boots. And I say, I can't leave without those. And I know you're trapped here too. And by the way, this girl, she's tall, and she's got a beautiful structured body. She's very, very fit, like an acrobat. She's got very toned muscles and little jaw muscle and very cut jaw. And her hair is about this long and very, very curly. And it's got some kind of styling product in it where it just looks very shiny and almost wet. And she looks like just some Grecian beauty from 1920. She had green eyes and just beautiful skin, and her lips were not thin, but they weren't plump. They were, I don't know, just the perfect medium size. And she had a very big mouth. She was so beautiful and tall. And this is very important. She was like sepia tone. She was those like tones of brown that some antique photos are. And it's like she was from a different TV station, and she was just not quite tuned into the right frequency, and she was mostly in this world but not quite. And her eyes also became more sepia tone. Like I could tell they were supposed to be that like creamy green clay color, but they were almost like a glowing amber color. And I was momentarily hypnotized by them, and I was like, whoa. Anyway, like, and I said, I have something for you. Will you please give me my boots back? Will you agree to this? And she looks at me, and I'm waiting for a straight answer. And she finally, and she knows that I'm waiting for a straight answer. And she goes, you know that I could trap you here, right? I have your boots. I could kill you too, but it'd be worth to trap you here. And she was absolutely miserable, being trapped for centuries in this circus. And she had a lot of anger to her. And I said, I know you are very powerful, and I know that you have some very powerful witch in you, and I know that you have a book of shadows, which I don't know how I knew that. It just occurred to me in that moment. I saw this blank page diary and this feather that had written some things, and I was really happy to give her this, though. I was really excited because I knew it would set her free. And I said, okay, close your eyes and open your hands. And she just looks at me, and she's like, I don't know if I'm gonna actually close my eyes. Like, what am I, a little kid? But she looks like, as she's looking at me in my eyes, she opens her hand, and I'm like, open both of them. And she rolls her eyes, and she opens both of them, and she kind of looks away. She's not gonna close her eyes, but she at least gives me that. She kind of looks away so I can kind of surprise her, because I'm actually very excited to give her these items, to set us both free, really. And so I take the jewel out, and then I set the jewel down, and she looks at it. She's like, kind of, oh. And then I take the braid out, and I hold it, and I look at her in the eyes, and we hold eye contact as I set the braid in her open hands. And she closes her hands around it and her eyes go wide. And she looks at the braid with astonishment and her mouth open, just kind of like, how? Why? How? And then she closes her hand again and a smile grows across her face. And we get this like telepathic communication. Like we both kind of nod at each other, like, you know exactly what to do with this. Like, and then she's like, I know exactly what to do with this. And so she gives me my boots, and I'm like, ew, you got them really muddy. And so I put my boots on, and then I ask her, may I give you a hug? And she's kind of like, what? Okay. And I give her a hug. I give her this long heart hug. And then I woke up. And that was the end of my dream. It was amazing. There was a lot of really stressful and scary parts of that dream. I woke up with a really stuffy nose and feeling really tired. I don't feel like I slept at all. And that's fairly unusual. I wake up usually like a little firecracker ready to go and pump it on. But yeah, sorry, I keep saying I don't know why I'm saying that so much. But that was the dream, and it was very interesting. I did not take any St. John's wort or my usual supplements. I didn't even drink tea last night. I had to go pick up someone from the airport, and I just went straight to bed because I got home very late. Yeah, that was it. If you have any dreams, I would love to hear them either in the comments below, or you can find me on Instagram at beneath.the.roses. There's a period between each word, so beneath.the.roses. You can send me a DM if it's kind of long. I'm really excited to hear your dreams. All right.